MedTech Insight enthusiasts. This is Dr. Jennifer Joe and my fabulous co-host, Dr. Ami Bhatt, who is the Chief Innovation Officer of the American College of Cardiology. During each show, we talk with the guests about the latest in innovation in digital health, biotech, and healthcare with a focus on the clinical experience and technologies that we think will be game changers. Dr. Bhatt and I co-authored the 2021 Springer Healthcare Information Technology for Cardiovascular Medicine, Telehealth, and Digital Health. Be sure to check it out. When I'm not hosting the show, I see patients at the VA, run some research studies, and right now have been running around the American Telemedicine Association. So great to see everyone, and it was a great pitch off last night. As a reminder, MedTech Insights is a live weekly interactive talk show, and we love interacting with our audience. So please be sure to post your comments or questions for us in the social feed on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, and we'll incorporate them into the show. We love to know who you are, where you're watching from, and what you're working on. All shows are live at the time and then recorded afterwards and available on YouTube under Vanguard.Health or my personal LinkedIn handle at Jennifer Joe MD. Over to you, Dr. Bhatt. What's happening?
Thank you. Well, the American Telemedicine Association is live and in person here in Boston. So from Sunday until today, we've really had such an opportunity to hear how far telemedicine has come, especially since the pandemic. It was here long before that. It will be here long after. But I think one of the most exciting parts is the cross collaboration that we're seeing. We have industry, we have legal teams, we have small companies and big, we have academic clinicians and private practice clinicians, and everybody is in the same room thinking about how can we really provide high quality care in the communities where people live, and what can we do to improve the way we communicate amongst individuals. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited for our guest today, because thinking about communicating, thinking about compassion, and really taking the entire lifespan of the patient journey into account is where our guest comes from. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her because I think we have a hard 12:30 stop today. Tatyana,
we do have a hard 12:30 stop, but so yesterday someone popped a screen in front of my face and took my vitals, Dr. Bhatt.
Oh,
have you seen that?
It is exciting. It is so
they told me I was hypertensive at the time.
I will tell you, I feel a little bit bad. There are so many different devices out there that are excellent. And I think at the end of the day, depending on whether you are, on your bike or treadmill, and therefore you want a bra or a t-shirt that's going to tell you things, or whether you just need someone to pop in front of your face and be like, hey, you're hypertensive right now. Maybe that's a little useful.
They were like putting it on my face as I was walking. We were looking for dinner. So I was hypertensive looking for dinner.
The technology is there. The technology of just using your phone, the technology of just wearing a ring. We talked about rings last week, right? Or wrist. It is all there, and it is all very helpful. What the challenge that we're facing now is, which one are you going to use? How are you going to know which one's right for you? The FDA is getting really, really good at making sure that these are all accurate. So I think this, this concept we used to have 15 years ago of, make sure to bring that in and check your blood pressure against the one in the clinic. I have opinions about the one in the clinic lately, right? So I think we don't have to worry.
No opinions, because I've always had opinions about them.
I know, but I don't think we need to worry about the technologies as much. I really do think that we're doing a great job, and kudos to the FDA and others who are really making sure, and the CTA, right, who are making sure we have standards, we're following them. But it's, how do you pick? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me which one you pick. What matters is that we as patients have agency, and we're invested in being healthful, right? Yeah. It would be great to be at a point where we're all looking forward at how do we be healthy rather than how do we not be sick. And so I think that's what this whole industry is moving towards. But I would have loved to be there as a fly on the wall when someone walked up to you and shoved a blood pressure machine in your face. Like that is, that's delightful. Oh, God.
While looking for food, that's a dangerous time span.
Yeah. Although maybe you're not hypertensive yet, and you're soon going to be hypertensive because you generally eat fries when you're that hungry. So
that's true. Truffle fries.
Yeah, truffle fries.
Before we announce our guest, I do want to say a big thank you to Deanna Grossbaum for hosting the ATA Innovator Health Tech Challenge, Dr. Joe Ami Bhatt for hosting the entire event. I was a judge, so many great digital health venture capitalists really in the market, surrounded by all of them yesterday. I want to say a big shout out to the winner, Hagar Spitz of Pulse and More. Congratulations for winning the ATA Innovators Health Tech Challenge. Really cool technology, really addressing Dr. Bhatt's topic that's near and dear to our heart with it, which is maternal fetal medicine, and how do we actually provide care to women just generally, but also specifically in rural areas in the US. So this is an ultrasound attachment that you put on your phone so that the patient can do their own ultrasounds, and then telemedicine into an OBGYN so that they can get continuous care. Big congratulations. Was a great event last night, and looking forward to seeing some people tonight. So Dr. Bhatt, over to you.
Absolutely. I made it throw out one extra shout out to Ann Mon Johnson. As we were about to bring on one CEO today, it is exciting to have other female CEOs who are out there running these organizations and doing just a fantastic job at it. Also making sure that they have diverse teams. And you can see that diversity has paid off. This ATA is really phenomenal and has come out of the gates running. So really excited for the rest of today as well. Okay, off to introductions. Tatyana Kanzaveli, she has gone from programmer to senior executive at Big Five to founder and CEO of a startup company along her 20-year career that she'll tell us more about. She is recognized as a thought leader, a mentor for her ability to guide Fortune 500 and startup companies through business challenges. She's worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, for Fujitsu, for startups in the early days of the web. And she's personally helped companies really go from zero to millions in revenue, even during tough economic times, opening up new verticals, thinking about new markets. And so today she's the founder and CEO of Open Health Network. It's a startup in big data, blockchain, and artificial intelligence in the healthcare space. And Patient Sphere, which she'll tell us about by Open Health Network, was featured in VentureBeat, Mobile Health News, other publications. She herself is a mentor at 500 startups and in Richard Branson Entrepreneur Center. She's the organizer of the highly notable TEDx Bay Area conferences. So if you're from the Bay Area and you want her to know about your work, please go ahead and type in today. And she's also been featured in the White House blog. She spoke at the United Nations, and she presented at the first White House Demo Day hosted by President Obama. I really want to hear about what that day was like. She's one of the top 10 influential women in healthcare IT as early as 2015. And Forbes has her as one of the top 50 women-led startups in tech. So really, really exciting. One little known fact, she was the USSR's chess champion.
Oh my God.
She played
that's crazy. No, that's crazy. If you've seen the Queen's Gambit, that's crazy.
I know. And she played the same team with Garry Kasparov. So there's so many things we need to ask her about. Why don't we go ahead and bring her out right now? Tatyana Kanzaveli, excited to have her with us. Tatyana,
Hi.
welcome. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the show. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So I see that we have a lot of women entrepreneurs and CEOs watching today, as well as others. So maybe will you start, because what a varied career you have had. Will you tell us a little bit in your own words, kind of your story and how you got here, and any highlights that you'd want other people to hear as they are on their journey to hopefully getting somewhere close to where you are?
Yes. My background is technology, mostly in the data space, and I came as an immigrant, and I had to start from below zero level, which imposed lots of challenges and decisions that I've made. I always wanted to start my own company, but I had different reasons why I couldn't do it. Because when you come with nothing, sleep on the floor, you have certain responsibilities. And fortunately or unfortunately, a few years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And that event kind of triggered my thinking in terms of what I'm doing with my life and how many excuses I can have on that will give me a reason why not to do things. And after going through the whole notion of, okay, planning your own funeral and thinking about, the other side of the equation, I start thinking more about why me and why certain things, why we get, from this state of being healthy to the state of being ill. And if there is a way for us to analyze massive amount of multidimensional data sets that can take into consideration everything from genomics to environmental stressors, all the way to clinical data, and come up with certain patterns that will help us to prevent things from happening, detect things early on, come up with personalized treatment option. And that led me on starting a company where I clearly knew where I want to go. I don't think it will be a surprise to tell people that healthcare is complicated. So I worked across so many different industries, from automotive to hospitality, high-tech manufacturing. I can tell you, even in comparison to very conservative industries, for example, automotive, when healthcare, it's the thing on its own. So definitely took me a while to kind of understand all the good and challenging things that come with startups getting into healthcare. And it's a path. It's a good path. I still believe, that, and as you mentioned, like, look at telehealth, look at other things that's happening right now. I think we're kind of at the beginning phase of disruptive innovations in healthcare, which is super exciting. And the good thing is we will all benefit from that, because it doesn't matter, you're a physician, a researcher, or startup founder, we're all humans, we all get ill, and we all face health-related challenges. And at that time, we start kind of thinking why and what can be improved. So I think the driving force is there, technology is there, overall changes that happen in healthcare are there. So we have a kind of correlation of different dimensional things that enable us to start introducing impactful changes.
It's such a true statement that you make of how far we've come, how complex it is, but how you can start to pull it together. Will you tell our audience just a little bit, because we did not prep them today, about Open Health Network and specifically what your goal is with the new company?
So as I thank you for your question, and of course I could talk about Open Health Network for hours. As I mentioned to you, the whole notion of us, starting a company was figuring out the ways we could use different types of data to prevent things from happening, early detect potential illnesses, and then transform into personalized adaptive precision care. When I looked at data that we need to achieve this, vision, we realized that, of course, we have, clinical data in AHR, whether it's good, bad, and how you can get to it, it's a different issue, but, it's there. We do have, claims data, if you have access to it, potentially genetic data. They're all kind of independently hosted and not necessarily correlated. But then I always felt that we need to have context to whatever data we have. So, for example, you talked about devices. Yeah, you can get tons of data from devices, but if you take them out of context, you might come with completely different conclusion, right? So I was working on, funny enough, for a while on coming up with AI engines for early detection of car failures, right? And we put, boxes that will capture different health data from a car with, researchers. And context was important even in that, like, is it cold outside? Are you going uphill, right? So for people, it's the same. Are you exercising? When, you get in certain measurements, how those measurements correlate to your history, health history, and everything else. So what we did with Open Health Network, we were trying to get in the most meaningful way to complete data set and then use, I would say, close to 100% of different data points that impact health to build a digital twin. Now, I'm super excited, super passionate, and about the whole opportunity with digital twin. Um, what is digital twin? I know it might be.
I think our audience will like that. I'm smiling
Yeah.
excitedly, but I don't know that everybody has that concept. That would be great.
Right. So digital twin enables the use of data to replicate objects, right? So you model certain objects, whether it's car engine or anything else. In the context of healthcare, imagine if I'll take all the data I can gather from environmental sensors where I can look at humidity or noise level, all the data from wearable devices, the data from EMR, genetic data, uh, biometrical data and everything else, and build a model of you, right? Imagine possibilities from everything in healthcare, from clinical trials where you can model things using digital twin, to coming up with predictive modeling from dosage of medications all the way to personalized treatment plans and everything in between. So I can tell you that this is the biggest innovation that's happening as we speak in healthcare, and it will have huge positive impact on how we do things. So what I see in the future is each of us having our digital twin, right? And if we can, for example, do continuous monitoring of your digital twin against your digital twin normal, we can detect little anomalies, for example, that can help us with early detection of potential complex health issues. And then once you diagnose something, you can use your digital twin to quickly model potential treatment options and optimize for desired outcome. I'll stop right there. This will generate so many potential questions, but I'm super passionate about the topic.
That's wonderful. I have several people who at the same time have now texted in, how far away is a digital twin? I think they're asking about timing is what I'm understanding from these. Do you think that that's something that can come soon? Do you think that's in a few years that we'll be able to rely on something like this?
So in my view, we're looking at a roadmap. Ideally, we will get to overall digital twin. How I think the whole space will be evolving, that we will create digital twins for certain conditions, disease areas, right? And then we will create, so we will have, digital twin, let's say for sleep disorders, or even subset of those, right? But then we might create some kind of meta layer that can compile different things together. So it's definitely a path. In terms of where we are, I can tell you, and I can, post a link to press release that we did with Miller School of Medicine and Amazon Web Services, where we're actually deploying, as we speak, a project where we're getting, I would say, close to like 95% of all the data to build first version of digital twin for people in underserved communities who have sleep disorders that correlate to cardiovascular diseases and Alzheimer's. So we deploying as we speak. So data lake has been built. People are getting boxes with variety of different gadgets and sensors. Lab people coming and taking blood tests. We will be able to pull the genetic data in. So I'm excited, and I kind of think within a few months we'll be able to report on the quality of
the data. That's great.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. Dr. Adnan, thank you for joining us today. She is asking, what are the security challenges with digital twins?
Exceptional, really, really good question. So we, of course, everything in healthcare, security and privacy, one of the major topics. So everything has been developed on our end to ensure highly secure environment of hosting data, giving access to the data, and protecting. And I had talk at the United Nations with the head of health from Linux Foundation, along with physicians from Miller School of Medicine, so on, where we specifically talked about digital identity in the context of digital twin. I can send you links. It's one of the dimensions that we're closely paying attention to.
Wonderful. You know what we can do, Jen, is maybe afterwards we can get the link from Tatyana and we'll put it on MedTech Insights so that people who are interested in that concept can look at that. I think that'll be
real good question.
Excellent. Jen, while you're pulling up other questions, can I ask you about the White House demo day? Because I think just such a great concept of going, what did you demo? What did you go to President Obama and be like, here, look what I got? What was that day like?
It was almost surreal, they picked, I believe, about 30 different startups. And again, we've been invited. So on a very short notice, because of the security reasons, we were giving a space where we set up our booth. We did show Open Health Network, previous generation of our offerings. They did allow us to wander through the whole, wing, where, look at different rooms, meet different startups. We had, President went and talked to a number of different startups as well. And I felt like celebrity for the day. And we didn't have cell phones reception, and I couldn't use it inside. But I know at the end of the day, it was the whole day in the White House. When I went out, I turned my cell on, and they're like, "I'm a reporter from this paper." So I felt like a celebrity for a day.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it's nice. It's really nice for people who are working so hard in, as you said, a complex industry and trying to do something new to be respected for what they're trying to bring, which I think is so important, right? I think it's important for different fields to recognize the hard work that other people are doing. So that's great. I'm going to change gears because I see a question here about, sorry, this comes up every time. So for those of you who are used to it, about payment. And I will mention that I was looking at what you guys are doing at Open Health. And it looks like your Patient Sphere 2.0, I only know that one because I think it's cardiac based, you in fact are able to have some of the CMS and private insurers CPT codes that are embedded in the product. So not only do you help patients put in all their data from their wearables and remote monitoring, help the EHR come in, personally reported data, nurses, physicians, others in the clinical industry can all see the same data, interact on it. But there's even a backside that says, here's how you bill for it, because otherwise asking clinicians to bill that backside is really an impediment to implementation. Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of tech companies taking some responsibility, since it seems like you are, of helping with the regulatory and payment side so people can implement their work?
Yeah, this is, one of the angles that people who are getting in healthcare need to understand from a startup side, who is paying and how to, this, that's a key question. We are completely in B2B to C space, so our customers are large healthcare organizations, and there are a number of new codes that can be used. Most of them, came thanks to COVID, I guess. And we make it easy. So there are codes that are actually quite good that address the issue of continuous monitoring. So every time, for example, patient opens an app, you can now, bill for that, which is, if you have lots of patients and they, open app, 2-3 times a day, that's a good thing. There are also codes for remote patient monitoring and other things. In cardiology, we deployed highly comprehensive, integrated solution that enabled remote patient monitoring, but more like personalized, adaptive treatment of kids with severe, rare cardiovascular issues at home. So in the past, these children had to travel to rehab at the CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, to get certain, exercises. And there is a proven research that confirmed if those kids do highly personalized set of exercises, it will help them to stay healthier longer, out of wheelchair, and live longer. So it's critical for their health, but it limited the outreach of this intervention because not that many kids could travel to the hospital. So now we have care team that can not only prescribe at very detailed level what those children have to do. It's integrated with Fitbit. They can see target heart rate, how long they have to stay in that rate. Every single heartbeat goes back to care team. It gets adapted. So super exciting, right?
That's fantastic work. As the audience knows, I started with congenital heart disease, so these patients are near and dear to my heart, and the ability to do virtual cardiac rehab or just exercise or healthful living, and to support that in the communities where people live, I think is essential. Dorian is asking so much for cardiology. Ami, how about ADD? Can you do something in the behavioral health space? Is that a space where people are looking?
Thank you for the question. I'm super passionate about behavioral and integrating everything behavioral into care plans. So we have a number of projects that where we deployed highly sophisticated MI, motivational interviewing, and technologies into disease treatments for addictions. We have highly impactful engagement in autism space. So our framework is agnostic to disease area. What I'm passionate about on how we can integrate care for the person who can potentially have cardiovascular issue, depression, addiction, and other things into one personalized adaptive care plan where different specialists can collaborate on different points, and we can have integrated data set. Because in the long run, we can't look at patients from a subset of different conditions because we don't necessarily understand how all kind of data from different angles can impact overall treatment and outcomes, you know?
That's great. No, it's,
So,
I love the
yeah.
concept. No, this is wonderful because you really, we have so many people with multiple chronic diseases, right? Asthma
Yeah.
and diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and the rates of behavioral health diagnoses were high and have gone up since COVID. And it's an area that affects everybody. And as soon as you have a chronic disease, it is likely that there is a behavioral health therapy that might also help you at the same time. It takes you back to your digital twin, which will come, Tatyana, and we're excited for, because then you can also see how does treating one chronic disease potentially affect your other diseases. You know, who knew that treating emphysema made your cardiac risk lower, but it does. And so these are the kind of things that we're seeing now that we didn't know before. So I love that. Jen, any final questions from the audience or thoughts from you? Because I see that we have come over time yet again in these wonderful conversations. I'll turn it over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Tatyana, for joining us. You know, you're really taking us into the next era of precision medicine and also just understanding disease processes, disease states, which we've kind of artificially clustered together. And that's why Dr. Bhatt gets the name cardiologist, and why Dr. Joe gets the name. I'm more free for all though, but I was originally a nephrologist, and now I'm just a free for all. So, and it really takes brilliant minds like yours to take us into this next journey of really understanding what medicine is. We've had, oh wow, okay, so many more questions coming in at the end, but we have a hard stop. So good question, David. Awesome question, and another great question from Dr. Adnan, which I'm sure that we can answer on LinkedIn or YouTube and post those answers later on. We do have a hard stop. I appreciate everyone for watching. And Tatyana, really great to have you. Dr. Bhatt, I'll toss it over to you for last closing words. And
absolutely.
Thank you,
Dr. Joe, thank you as always. And Tatyana, what an honor to have you here, to see your career and what you have done, and open health and the concept of really having compassion for the entirety of the person who is the patient, or ideally not yet a patient, somebody who is looking to improve their health before sickness comes. And sometimes, as in your story, it even takes sickness to make somebody who is so effective be even more effective, right? And then this is what happens for many of us. I promise, Jen. So one thing is, we all speak from ourselves. We don't speak from any of the companies with which we work, affiliate, etc. I'm saying this as a preface to not necessarily saying anything firm, but saying that I think compassion is something that's really important. And as we see strife in the world, and as we see people's opinions clash on the personal stage and on the national stage, really important. I've been talking a lot about the virus lately. My kids have been asking, why is the virus back? And I said, you know, the interesting thing about viruses is one strain will die, but they will make sure that the next strain is that much better before the first strain dies. And as I think about you and your career, Tatyana, and Dr. Joe, you as well as the other guests we've had on the show, one thing I keep seeing is the compassion that is unique to us as a human race. People want to make this a better place. And so I'm going to get on the bully pulpit for 1 second today and say, despite everything that is happening and how we all have similar and differing opinions, if we can leave the next generation to be more compassionate than this one, then perhaps that is what we all need to do in whatever way that means to you. So thank you for looking ahead, Tatyana, at the future, at looking at making people better, and at looking at holistic care. I think that's so very important. And to our audience, we are so grateful for you to join. Please give feedback. If there are people that you want to see, if there are topics you want to hear about, we're happy to shift gears for you as well and do things that are new and different like we did today. So let us know what you're looking for. Be good to each other, and we will see you guys again shortly.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.